Hello everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel, and welcome to a new playthrough on the channel. We're starting a new project, by the way, closing closet door. We're starting a new we're not starting a new project yet, I shouldn't misspeak. What we're doing today is we're heading to the world's most famous arena in Madison Square Garden for a stress test on a potential wrestling federation on the channel. I've got 3 engines that we're going to test out. First up, we are going to test an engine I got from Jester back last year when I was working, actually I think it was earlier this year I got it from him when we worked out a big trade for a lot of my APA hockey stuff. We are playing Legends of Wrestling by Filsinger Games. As you can guess, wrestling simulator. As far as my ideas for the Federation go, I'm initially thinking each card is going to be 3 matches, but I'm using 4 on this first card, just as a bit of a test to see how the system holds up. So I'm not only going to be stress testing the concept of a wrestling federation as a whole, but I'm also going to be testing each engine. I've got 2 more engines lined up that I'm going to be testing this weekend. So in our first match, from Omaha, Nebraska, weighing in at 245 pounds, we've got the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, and here's what his card looks like on the front. So I'll be using the backside of this. And his opponent from Brandon, Florida, weighing in at 253 pounds, we've got Mr. Wonderful, Paul Orndorff. And there's what his card looks like on the front. So that's our opening match tonight. We're not going to worry about... I do have the Gary Michael Capetta and Bill Watts cards out, but we might use Capetta later on. I'm probably not going to use Bill Watts until I decide I'm going to use this as a federation tool. But we're going to find out how these games go. And just to clarify the colors, just for the color scheme, I've got red... Hold on. I need to get my other light up on the channel, or on the camera, because that would be helpful. There we are. I am in the middle of filming Mystical Munchies as well, by the way. I just happen to be at a point in recording where the camera is going to be off. Well, not the camera is going to be off, but there's something that I'm waiting to have happen on the recipe, so that's why we're doing a little bit of wrestling stress testing. Anyway, red die is going to be for DiBiase, blue is going to be for Orndorff. So I'm going to line it up. Red is going to be on this side, blue is going to be on this side. So the fans here are filing into Madison Square Garden. We're all set for this opening match, and there's the bell. Let's get into this one. We'll determine our aggressor by the 2d6 roll. Higher roll will be our aggressor. And that will be Orndorff taking off on the action. We start off rolling on level 1. So Orndorff is going to go get a grinding side headlock. So we'll take the 6 over to DiBiase's card, and we'll check for his level 1 offense. He is still dazed, which means Orndorff gets the action back on his level 1 offense. The tag we can disregard during a singles match. Okay, 5 is going to be a body slam, so we've got a 2 PW. I forgot what PW is. That's a power rating, probably. Let's see if it explains it in here. There is not anything for that. So we're not going to worry about that. So a body slam, we're checking DiBiase's level 2 defense. He's still hurt, so Orndorff will roll on level 2 offense. A 3 says into the ropes. That's a chart result. Into the ropes right here. DiBiase is a B on the ropes, so we will re-roll. So a 3. The opponent gets into position for a back body drop. This is DiBiase, but you grab him and hit him with an awesome pile driver. Roll on level 3 offense. I thought the pile driver was Orndorff's finisher, but anyway. Level 3 offense for Orndorff. 6, ooh, speaking of the pile driver, he will hit that and DiBiase, so we're going to roll automatically for pin, but because it's a +2, DiBiase needs a 7 or less or more to kick out. Roll a 7 or lower, so he's got to roll higher to kick out. So a 7 or lower for DiBiase. That's a 4, so that is the end of the match. Your winner is Mr. Wonderful, Paul Orndorff. I guess the first pile driver he got DiBiase withstunned him, and then the second pile driver put DiBiase down for the count. So, let me switch the stream and be right back, and we will have our second match. I wonder if I could do this. Probably. And we're back. I'm doing a little bit of experimenting here also with the layout in case I want to use this game moving forward on using this game as my Wrestling Federation engine. So, we are going to have our second match on the card. At a total combined weight of, let's see, I've got to do a little bit of math here. That looks like it's going to be 562 pounds. We have got Hawk and Animal, the Road Warriors, and their opponents at a total combined weight of, let's see, 622 pounds. We have got Kane and The Undertaker, the Brothers of Destruction. And we'll take a look at the fronts of the Road Warrior cards, just so we show them off. Actually, they probably go about like that. And then as for The Undertaker and Kane, no bonus points for guessing who's who. So we are going to start off with Kane against Road Warrior Animal. For a tag team match, the dice are actually going to serve an extra purpose, because they are going to help me mark who the legal wrestler is in each match. So, I think we are all set. So let's jump in and figure out who our first aggressor is going to be. Once again, we're using red. This time we're using red for the Road Warriors, blue for the Brothers of Destruction. So, Animal starting in the ring against Kane. That is a 5. Animal will be our aggressor to start the match. Alright, a 2 is going to be an armbar on level 1. Ooh, Kane's going to reverse that right away. He'll get a roll on... Kane reversing the armbar, gets a roll on level 2 offense. Kane looking for a tilt-a-whirl suplex, level 2. Animal will reverse that. He'll get a roll on level 1 offense. Animal will look for an armbar, level... Actually, he'll look for a press slam, level 3 offense, or level 3 defense. Kane is going to be hurt on that. He's going to get a roll, or Animal will roll on level 2 offense. Road Warriors not taking any prisoners here. Scoop slam on level 2. Kane will counter that. He'll slide out of that. He's going to actually tag out, since he's got the option on offense, he's going to tag out to The Undertaker. So Taker will get the roll on level 2 offense instead. As Taker will look for Old School. Level 3 offense for Animal, or level 3 defense for Animal. Animal's down. That'll be a level 3 offense for The Undertaker. Animal can't tag out. Animal's got to get back on offense. 3 for Taker, the last ride. Level 3 defense. Animal's hurt. Level 2 offense. Animal's got to get back in control of this so he can tag out to Hawk. But The Undertaker holding control. Flying clothesline on a level 3. Animal, he's down level 3, so Taker with another level 3 roll. We'll bring the blue die in shot so we can see who Taker is legal. Level 5, a choke slam by The Undertaker. He's going to throttle Animal. Animal will not get out of that. Choke slam will bring Animal to the canvas. Taker with another roll on level 2. Another attempt at old school, and Animal will get felled by that. Taker very much in control of the action here. Undertaker looking for a death jump. Uh-oh. Let's see, death jump, Animal's a C, and there's a death jump on here somewhere. So this is actually Undertaker's plancha out of the ring. I guess Taker knocked him out of the ring. Animal is a C on this. It's Snake Eyes. The opponent comes off the top rope with an awesome crossbody, but you counter with a special move. That's a big power bomb. So now we've got to roll for a pin on the Undertaker. And Animal's probably going to tag out if this doesn't end the match. And a 5 equal to, or I believe it's equal to or lower. Let me double check, but that's a 5. That's the exact number for the 6 or lower. Then he is pinned. So there's the bell to end the match, and your winners are the Road Warriors. Okay, so the Undertaker attempts his plancha. Animal sidesteps it, catches him with a big power bomb. There's enough to knock Taker silly, and Animal will roll him in to get the pin. So now I'm going to switch once again into Be Right Back, and we will have our third match on the card. I was going to say, this is going to end up being the most depressing match on the card, but probably not really, especially since in our last match, one entire of the tag teams is no longer with us. So, let's jump into our matchup. First up, from Calgary, Alberta, Canada, weighing in at 227 pounds, from the ever-famous Hart family, we have the Rocket, Owen Hart. And his opponent, this should be a good one, from Robbinsdale, Minnesota, weighing in at 256 pounds, we have got Curt Hennig. Now, we're not going to use Gary Michael Capetta for this one. Owen will be using the red dice this time. Hennig will be using the blue dice. And I'm actually going to bring the bell over here. So, there's the bell to get into this match. So here we go. Who's going to be our aggressor to start this one off? And we're going to roll again for our aggressor. And it's going to be Hennig who will start the action on level 1 offense. Hennig will get a cocky slap to the face, and apparently it's a hard enough slap to today's Owen, as Hennig is going to be back on level 1 offense again. Coming back with a series of punches, Owen with level 2. Owen's down already, level 3. Level 3 offense for Hennig. 1, a figure 4 leg lock. Level 2 offense. Level 2 defense. And a 3 for Owen. He's down. That'll be another level 3 offense for Hennig. The Hennig Plex. Owen's got to roll pin. He's at a 6 because of the +2. It's an 8 for Owen. 7. There's the bell to end the match. Your winner, Curt Hennig. If this was going to turn into an actual wrestling promotion, speaking English, there would be more segments. Obviously, there'd be a backstage interviewer segment. There might be some stuff with the commissioner on occasion, because I do have a card for Bill Watts as well, with a Mid-South commissioner that you can do all kinds of stuff with, asking for a title shot, suspensions, specialty matches if we need to do that. The one thing I didn't find in the set that Jester sent me, and the set of cards that he sent me, was any kind of a backstage interviewer card. And when I got this set and I did an unboxing of it, we actually spent over an hour. I think we spent an hour and 20 minutes going through the entire everything that I got in that package. And I didn't see a backstage interviewer in that set. So there would be more stuff in here. And actually, I was not expecting this card to be going this quickly, so let me see if I can come up with an impromptu, let me see if I can come up with another match here before we get to our main event already. Again, I'd have other segments mixed in, so bear with me just a second while I figure something else out here. I'm thinking of what I want to do here, so... Okay, here's what I came up with. We're going to have an impromptu triple threat match. First, introducing first, we've got a triple threat match scheduled for one fall. Approaching the ring, standing 6 foot 8 inches tall, weighing 350 pounds, we have got the monster, Abyss. And this looks to be from when he joined the Decay. I think that's the faction. Yeah, Decay. I can kind of make it out in the background here of the Abyss card. And introducing his opponents, first from Huntington Beach, California, weighing 270 pounds, we have got the Samoan submission machine, Samoa Joe. And there's a look at his card. And approaching the ring, from Detroit, Michigan, weighing 315 pounds, we have got big sexy Kevin Nash. And as you might guess, Nash is going to use the green die. Now, I didn't see in the rule book when I was thumbing through that support for a triple threat match. So the way we're going to do that, so here's how we're going to do this. We're going to have to do a little bit of house ruling, especially since triple threat matches are such a mainstay of modern day wrestling. And I know even back to when I was watching back in 2010, 2011, you would have all kinds of triple threat matches on some of these cards. So the way we're going to do this is we've got our 3 dice. So Abyss is going to roll red, Joe is going to roll blue, Nash is going to roll green. So the way we're going to do this is the high roll is going to attack the low roll, essentially, and then the middle roll on the way. And then the middle roll will kind of be out of the action, but the middle roll will come into play on pin attempts. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to use the middle roll as a decider die. I'm just going to make a note here. So Nash in green. Abyss is in red. Joe is in blue. Normally I wouldn't note that. No, I haven't been noting that, but here I'm going to because I'm going to be using some house rules. So let's say Abyss is in control of the action. And let's say Abyss is in control of the action for an example roll. He's rolling on level 3 offense. All right, so in this case, Abyss rolls... Okay, this is actually perfect. I was hoping this would come up. So Abyss rolls a black hole slam. He's going after Nash with that move. He's going after Nash with that because of the low roll. So Nash would then roll pin, and then I'd use Joe's die as kind of a decider die. The way I'm going to do that is on pins, I'm going to say middle die. If it's a middle die 1 to 3, he'll break up the pin attempt. On a 4 to 6, no breakup. So in this case, with the action here, since Abyss was in control, he's going for the black hole slam, going after Nash with it, and Joe wouldn't try to break up the fall. It's not perfect, and there's no native system in the rule book for a triple threat match. So that's the test we're going to go with here. We'll see how much sense that makes. So the competitors are in the ring as the referee was giving them the instructions. So there's the bell. Come here. Somehow the green die stayed on the table. So let's get a roll, see who our aggressor is and who they're going after. Okay, Nash is our aggressor, and he's going after Joe. He's going to roll into the ropes, and we'll use only 2 dice for this. So Nash has got Joe whipped into the ropes. Joe is a B on the ropes. A 5. You come off the ropes with a powerful flying shoulder tackle. Joe is rolling on level 2 offense. Joe is aiming at Abyss with a 3. He's got a running knee drop, and Abyss is going to reverse that. Abyss rolling on level 1 offense. Abyss is going to re-roll these 2 dice since they're the same. Okay, Abyss... Actually, no. He should have rolled... He's going after Nash. Nash is into the ropes. Nash is also a B on offense, or on into the ropes. Nash with a 9. The opponent tries a big shoulder tackle, but whether it works depends on which wrestler is more powerful. If your power rating is better than the opponent's power rating is they're equal, so minus 4 for both, same or better, the opponent knocks you. So Abyss gets another roll on level 2 offense. Abyss going after Nash again on level 2 offense with a belly-to-belly suplex. Nash will reverse that. He'll get a roll on level 1 offense. Nash is going after Joe on level 1 offense with a head vice. Joe will be dazed. Nash will roll on level 1 offense. Nash going after Abyss this time, shoving the opponent across the ring on level 1 offense. Abyss will reverse that easily. Abyss will get a roll on level 2 offense. Abyss going after Joe with a bear hug on level 2 offense. Joe is hurt by the move. Abyss with another roll on level 2 offense. Abyss going after Joe again into the turnbuckle this time. Joe is a B on into the turnbuckle. A 9 for a B. Crushed by a big kick by the opponent. Opponent rolls on level 2 offense. So Abyss gets another roll on level 2 offense. Abyss is going after... We got to re-roll those. Abyss going after Nash this time. Nash into the turnbuckles. Nash is into the turnbuckle. Nash is an A into the turnbuckle. A 7 reversal. You reverse the move and throw the opponent into the turnbuckle. Now Abyss has got a roll for turnbuckle. Abyss is a B as well. Oop. We only needed 2 dice. Abyss rolls a 6 on B into the turnbuckle. Reversal again, so Nash has got a roll now. Nash with a boxcars. Nash was an A into the turnbuckle. You bounce forward off the turnbuckle and into an incredible neck-breaking clothesline. Abyss gets a roll on level 3 offense. Abyss going after Nash again. He's been going after Nash a lot this match. Diving Splash, level 3. Nash is hurt. Abyss with another roll on level 2 offense. Abyss going after Nash again. A belly-to-belly suplex. Nash will reverse that, get level 1 offense out of that. Nash for the roll. He's going after Joe. Overhead rights, level 2 for Joe. But Joe's hurt. Nash gets a roll on level 2 offense. Nash going after Joe again with a boot choke in the corner. Joe's hurt. Nash with another roll on level 2 offense. Nash going after Joe again. Wow, giant elbow drop for Nash, level 2 offense. Joe with a 1. Joe's still hurt. Nash rolling on level 2. Nash going after, he's going after Joe a lot here. Another boot choke in the corner. Into the turnbuckle. Joe is a B into the turnbuckle. A 6 on B into the turnbuckle. Joe reverses, and now Nash is going into the turnbuckle. Nash an A. A 9, crushed by a big kick on the opponent. Joe with a roll on level 2 offense. Samoa Joe trying to take control of this match. He's got to roll. We got to roll those two again. Joe going after Abyss on level 2 offense. Running knee drop, level 2. Abyss is hurt. Joe gets another roll on level 2 offense. Joe going after Nash with that one on level 2 offense with a lariat. Lariat. And Nash is dazed. Joe gets a roll on level 1 offense. Back over to Joe we go. Joe going after Abyss this time with a series of hard slaps on level 2. Abyss is down. Joe with the roll on level 3 offense. Uh-oh. Joe going after Nash with a German suplex on level 3 offense. Nash, pin 5. Uh-oh. We're going to re-roll everything. So once again, we're looking at Abyss's die, in red to see if he breaks up the fall. Nash looking at a pin 5. Nash would have kicked out Nash would have kicked out anyway. Nash had to kick out because Abyss wasn't going to break it up. So that'll bring us back to Joe on level 2 offense. Joe going after Abyss with that one with a series of hard slaps. Abyss is hurt. Joe gets a roll on level 2 offense. Joe going after Abyss again with another series of hard slaps. And Abyss is hurt again. Joe level 2 offense. Joe going after Nash this time with a series of hard slaps. Nash will, however, reverse that, get a roll on level 1 offense. Nash going after Joe with a giant elbow, with a shove opponent across the ring for level 1. Joe reversing that. He does not like the shove. He'll roll on level 2 offense. Joe is going after Nash with a running knee drop on level 2 offense. Nash reverses that. Level 1 offense. Nash going after Joe again. Clothesline in the corner on level 3. Joe is hurt. Level 2 offense for Nash. Nash going after Joe again. Boot choke in the corner. And Joe's hurt by the move. Nash rolling on level 2 offense. Nash is going after Joe again with a clothesline in the corner. Level 3. Joe reverses. Joe's hurt by that. Nash gets another roll on level 2 offense. Nash going after Abyss this time with a giant elbow drop on level 2. Abyss is down. Nash gets a roll on level 3 offense. He's going after... we got to re-roll those. Nash is going after Joe with out of the ring. So now we are outside the ring. And Joe for ring is an A. An 8. In order to meet the referee's count, you crawl helplessly back into the ring. Nash rolls on level 3 offense. Nash going after Joe again. Uh-oh. With the jackknife powerbomb. Joe's got to roll pin. So we've got to pay attention to Abyss's die as well to see if he breaks up the fall. Joe's a pin 6, but plus 2 because of the jackknife means Joe's a pin 8. Abyss will break up the fall. Joe wouldn't have kicked out, actually. Nash gets a roll on level 2 offense. Nash going after Abyss this time. He's going for Snake Eyes on level 3. Abyss is down. Nash on level 3 offense once again. Going after Joe with a big boot, level 3. And Joe is down. Nash with another roll on level 3 offense. He's going after Abyss. Chokeslam by Nash. He gets the big man up. Level 3 on a 3. Abyss is hurt. Nash with a level 2 offense. Nash going after Abyss again with into the turnbuckle. Abyss is a B into the turnbuckle. That's an 8. Let me find turnbuckle. Here we go. Crushed by a big kick on the opponent. Opponent rolls on level 2 offense. Nash again. Come here. On level 2 offense. Level 2 offense. Nash is going to roll again. Going to roll again to see who he goes after. Nash going after Abyss with a giant elbow drop. Abyss is down. Nash rolling on level 3 offense again. Oh boy, he's throwing a power bomb. He's throwing the jackknife at Joe again. So now we've got to roll Joe's pin. Joe's a pin 6 plus 2 makes him an 8 because of the jackknife. Abyss will break up the fall again as Joe wouldn't have kicked out. Nash with a roll on level 3 offense. Actually, I think it's... So if they... I'm going to double check if they kick out, but I think if they kick out, you get an automatic roll. Okay, level 3 offense. So I've been doing that wrong. So Nash gets another roll on level 3 offense. That's the second jackknife Joe's kicked out of, though. And he's going to be going for another one. The only question is who's it on? It's on Abyss this time. Joe is still dazed from the jackknife powerbomb, but can he break up the fall? The 3 says no. 9 actually says Abyss kicks out. Wow. Just checking that. Rolls 6 or lower, pinned and loses the match. Okay, so yeah, Abyss will kick out of the jackknife. Wow, Nash getting his jackknife kicked out of all. He's getting his jackknife kicked out of a lot here. Nash with another roll on level 3 offense. He's going after Abyss out of the ring. Abyss is an A out of the ring. That's a 3. You grab the opponent by the leg, drag him out of the ring, smash him into the turnbuckle. Abyss gets a roll on level 3 offense. That's a 5. Shock treatment. Oh boy. 3 and add 1. He's going after Nash with a shock treatment. Nash is hurt. Abyss, actually, what does the add 1 mean? I think... Let's see if there's a rule set for the impact crowd. I doubt it, but if we see add... Oh, actually, I think what that means is we've got... Actually, Nash rolls a... Do we add 1 to the result? I think we add 1 to the result of the die. That's what I'm going to go with anyway. That's a 2. So Nash is actually facing a pin 5 off the shock treatment. So we're using the red and blue dice to see what happens with the pin. Actually, red and green to see what happens with the pin. Blue if Joe breaks it up. Joe will break it up, and he had to. Nash was going to kick out there. Abyss rolling on level 3 offense once again. He's aiming at Nash with a choke slam. Level 3 offense and another pin 5. Abyss now starting to take over here a little bit. Pin 5 for Nash. That's a snake eye, so he wouldn't have kicked out, but Joe will break up the fall. As Jay Mollerskov is first to join us here at Madison Square Garden. Abyss rolling on level 3 offense. Abyss is going after Nash is going after Nash out of the ring. Nash is a B out of the ring. That's a 7. In order to meet the referee's count, you crawl helplessly back into the ring. Abyss back to level 3 offense once again. Abyss, actually we got to roll both of those again. He's going after Joe with a big boot on level 3 offense. Joe is down. Abyss with another roll on level 3. Rolling those 2 again. Abyss going after Joe with a shock treatment, adding 1 to the roll because that's what I did earlier. Joe's down. Abyss gets a roll on level 3 offense. Abyss going after Nash with that one. 6. Uh-oh. Black hole slam. Nash has got a roll pin. So we're using red and green to determine the result. Joe to break it up. Nash is a pin 5. Plus 2 makes him a 7 because of the black hole slam, the finisher. Joe will not break up the pin, and there's the bell, and that is the end of the game. Here is your winner, the Monster Abyss. Taking a break from moving furniture, this looks like a fun solo or duo game. I could see that. You'd probably have to be a big fan of wrestling. Admittedly, what I'm using this for is I'm doing this to test with the potential wrestling federation on the channel for a little bit of backstory in case you haven't been following what's been going on. I did some testing for another project probably a couple weeks ago by now called The Wide World of Sports, where the idea was going to be Sunday or Friday was going to be a combat sport of some kind, whether boxing or potentially wrestling. Saturday was going to be a race using red, white, and blue racing from Play Games. And Sunday, the idea was going to be History Maker Golf. Initially, the golf test actually flopped because I was trying to do too much with it. I was trying to do all 3 rounds. I was trying to do the 3 rounds on camera. By the time I got done with that, I was so frustrated that the tournament, that the round 4, the actual golf play portion, actually kind of flopped out pretty hard. So I was looking at wrestling games. I realized I had a couple, and I had a couple of wrestling games already, and another one was catching my eye. So I decided to grab that, another one from Play Games, that will also be featured on the channel, I think a little bit later tonight. I'm looking at my clock for Mystical Munchies here, and I've still got a lot of time in this one. The problem is, knowing how I would want to do a wrestling federation, I would not want to do it halfway. So I'm doing some stress testing here, just to see, A, what I think of the systems, and B, if I think I can make it work. Hang on, I'm going to take a drink of water here. Hopefully all the furniture moving is going well for you as well. I know that was something we were going to be working on this weekend. So I'll talk a little bit more about what I think about it, about what I think about this game later, but can't think of a single wrestling game, but just the idea of wrestling games sounds fun. So I've got this one that I'm playing, Legends of Wrestling, one that's going to be coming later tonight, but I've got to sit down and book a card for it. Is this one by Play Games called Face to the Mat Pro Wrestling. I also have a game called TV Pro Wrestling 2 by Downey Games. There's also an earlier version with older wrestlers, more like 2005, 2007, that era. But I'm going to use TV Pro Wrestling 2. I'll be in touch later about my stuff. Well, take care, and hopefully things go well. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, so yeah, I'm going to be doing Face to the Mat later tonight. And then tomorrow, most likely, I'll be doing TV Pro Wrestling 2 by Downey Games. But let's get into our last match of the card. I'm going to put the stream into Be Right Back so I can set up the last match. This is the first of them I've tried on the channel. Actually, no, this isn't the first wrestling game I've put on the channel. The first one was TV Pro Wrestling 2 by Downey Games. But this is the first one of the 3 this is the first what I call stress test that I'm doing on the channel. So, yeah, this is going to be the first game that I'm putting to the test to see if it's something that's going to be viable. And in our main event, we have got a classic main event from the year 2000. Introducing first, from Miami, Florida, weighing in at 260 pounds, we have got The Rock. I believe the photo is from circa probably 2000. It might be a 2000s photo, but I'm thinking it's more 2002. And his opponent, from Greenwich, Connecticut, weighing 255 pounds, he is The Game, Triple H. There's a look at his card, and here we are going to use Gary Michael Capetta to jumpstart the action. So I've got the ring announcer card for Gary Michael Capetta. We're going to use a 2d6 roll. These two are at each other's throats back in the year 2000. So we're going to use a 2d6 roll to get the action. And if you remember 2000, we're going to stick with the alignments there. The Rock is the face, Triple H is the heel. And a 7 says the two wrestlers get into a shoving match in the middle of the ring. Roll a die to see who wins. Even roll, the heel wins and rolls on level 2 offense. Odd roll, the babyface wins and rolls on level 2 offense. So we're going to use the red die for that. So evens is going, actually let's do this. Evens for Triple H, odds for The Rock. That is odds, so The Rock gets the jump, and he'll roll on level 2 offense. There's the bell to start the match, and here we go for The Rock. Rock with a sharpshooter already. Ooh, gets into that one. Triple H is hurt by the move. Rock gets a roll on level 2 offense. A jumping clothesline, level 3. Actually, I should have looked at level 3 defense for Triple H. Actually, I think I did. 5 for The Rock. There was a jumping clothesline on level 3 defense for Triple H. Triple H is hurt. Rock right back to level 2. Rock gets another jump. We're right back to the same result again. Triple H is hurt. Rock on level 2. A power slam, level 2, and Triple H will actually reverse the power slam. He's going to come off the ropes with a clothesline. Triple H gets a roll on level 2 offense. And that's going to be a high knee. Triple H on level 3 offense. Rock is down. Triple H gets another roll on level 3 offense. 6. Uh-oh. Triple H nails the Rock with the pedigree. Rock's got to roll pin. He's a +2. It's going to be a +2 because the pedigree is Triple H's finisher. And The Rock is a pin 5. He's got to roll a 7, or he's got to roll higher than a 7 to kick out. That's a 5. That's the end of the match. Here is your winner, Triple H. And that will do it for this card of Legends of Wrestling. Like I said, if I was actually using this as my main Wrestling Federation engine, there'd have been more segments in here. I probably would have had the house rule in like a promo table or something for backstage interviews, because I don't want to keep going to Bill Watts all the time, the Mid-South Commissioner. Because my philosophy when it comes to pro wrestling shows is I don't really like the authority figures being on screen unless there's something big going on. Like I can even remember back to the 80s and the 90s. It does okay, so let's back up. I'll address the comment here. It seems to move along pretty smoothly. Yeah, it does move along pretty smoothly as far as how the action flows, where you start on one card, then you move over to you start on one wrestler's offense, then you roll on then you roll on the opponent's defense. The problem with that, though, how it's moving along is, at least for me, it kind of makes a mess a little bit of the natural progression to me of the match. Where I don't know if I didn't mind too much you roll on level 3 defense and then you're back to level 2 offense again. That part I didn't mind. I think what I did mind, though, and some of these matches actually finished fairly quickly, which I'm not completely sure I'm warm to that either. But I guess the problem I'm having here is, in terms of using this game as a Federation engine in particular, I feel like there's a lot I'm going to have to bolt onto it. Like I said, I'd probably have to bolt on some kind of an interview, some kind of a backstage interviewer, like a Gene Okerlund, or who are some of the other big backstage interviewers. Who was the one at WCW? God, I can't even remember. Actually, I think they rotated the interviewers there. I know Mike Tenay did interviews in WCW. I couldn't tell you who the Talking Heads are now for obvious reasons, but Gene Okerlund is the main one that kind of jumps to the top of my head as far as backstage interviewers go, for obvious reasons. And of course, there's all the notes of building up my own faces and heels, all of that good stuff. But there's also the problem of it feels like this game, at least in particular, is really dependent on the one-on-one structure. The triple threat match that I did earlier in the show seemed to work fine. Only remember Mean Gene. Yeah, he was definitely the big. He was definitely the big one, just because of the link with Hulk Hogan. Because Mean Gene would always do Hogan's promos, especially back in the '80s, and I think even a little bit in the early '90s, and when they moved over to WCW together. Anyway, besides all the obvious stuff of having to build your own faces and heels, your own championships, there's not really the native support for multi-man matches like the triple threat I had to house rule in. That did seem to work fine. And it's only going to get more chaotic and more confusing when there are more dice involved. But I'm not sure how warm I am to the idea that a match can literally end just like that. I think it bothered me a little bit where my main event ended after one pedigree, where a lot of these matches would go like 25, 30 minutes. I'm kind of rambling a little bit. I'm all over the place. So let me see if I can organize my thoughts a little bit more here. So I definitely was bothered, and it's just kind of the nature of how it goes with the dice, with the match kind of ending fairly quickly in terms of getting past a pin result. And besides all the other stuff that would go into bolting on a wrestling federation that you'd have to build up. You'd have to build up your roster, your championships. And I'd have to bolt on support for the multi-man matches, because I know there are some stipulations I'd want to use. Like the Elimination Chamber, I've been doing some brainstorms with ChatGPT, kind of making some notes. I know an Elimination Chamber-esque stipulation is something I'd want to use. I'd have to build my own schedule as far as weekly TV, pay-per-views, all of that stuff. That's going to be a problem no matter which engine I decide to use. But the question is kind of the narrative, and I feel like with this game at least, I'm having to supply a lot of that via theater of the mind, where some of that's going to have to be bolted on. But I'm rambling on at this point. Like I said, I did like the flow of the game, but in terms of promotion support, I'd have to bolt on a lot. So I'm definitely going to sit with. After this weekend of stress testing, I'm going to be sitting with it a lot, just to see what I think. But anyway, I'm rambling now, so let's go ahead and wrap this video up. I'm still working on Mystical Munchies right now. I'm waiting for the rolls to rise. They've got a little more than another hour to rise before they're going to be ready for the next segment. And then as far as what else I've got coming up on the channel, like I mentioned it later tonight, I am going to be doing a card of Face to the Mat Pro Wrestling by Play Games. As far as what's scheduled, tomorrow morning, we're going back to the Eastern Front of World War II Europe as we play Ostkrieg by Compass Games. Wednesday, we're playing G.I. Joe the Deck Building Game by Renegade Games Studios. Thank you for watching the video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications so you get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care everyone.